Hello everyone! Today I want to talk to you about all of the books that I've read since I started BookTube that have unexpectedly become my favorites. Now, I didn't go into any of these books like expecting to hate them, but there was just something about the books, some kind of aspect or writing style that I just didn't particularly think I would enjoy that I just ended up loving. Now, these books are in no particular order, but I am going to start with the one manga on this list, Bloody Mary. Now, this manga I picked up a couple of months ago just to pass the time. I didn't go into it at all expecting to like it as much as I did because it's about vampires, and since the whole Twilight thing, I'm kind of weary about all things vampire. Not that I have anything particularly against Twilight, it was what got me into reading YA. I think it got a lot of people into reading YA, but it's not particularly one of my favorite book series out there for multiple reasons, and not just because of the vampire aspect, but we're not talking about Twilight, we are talking about Bloody Mary. The plot of this book went so much darker and deeper than I was expecting it to. I mean, way darker. And I'm kind of scared to find out how deep and dark this is going to go because I've only read the first 3 volumes and there's so much that has happened and so much backstory, and it's kind of frightening in a way when you think of how much there is to this story, but it's also very exciting. But I think one of my favorite things that I was not expecting was the fact that the character Bloody Mary is so adorable. I mean, he has an adorable personality, and then he has like these really adorable moments where he gets all spastic and he's just so cute. So yeah, this book was a big shocker for me. Next I have the Lux series by Jennifer Lerman-Trout. This book I heard quite a few good things about, but I was very reluctant to go into it because it was a contemporary setting, but it was primarily sci-fi. And I've mentioned on several occasions that I'm not a big sci-fi reader because I've had a few bad experiences with sci-fi books and they're just not my favorite genre. This, though, turned my opinion on its head because as soon as I started this book, I couldn't stop reading it. And there were several points of the book where I got so anxiety-ridden that I wanted to stop reading, but I couldn't. I was caught hook, line, and sinker. Next up is the Shatter Me series, and this book I went into expecting to absolutely love. But the reason this was an unexpected favorite was because once I started reading it, the writing style was just so poetic. I really don't know how to explain the writing style of this book, but it's one of those books where the writing style, you have to give it a few chapters before you decide to sit the book down, because the writing style will just make you not want to read the book because it's so hard to understand, and you know, the poetic sense of it, it's just so poetic that it's really hard to get into, is really what I'm saying. And it was really difficult for me to get into this book, but I heard so many good things and I was determined to read this book because I love the concept. And I just pushed myself, and after a few chapters it started getting less poetic, but still, it was poetic still, but it was more normal when she started interacting with other people. I'm doing a real bad job of explaining this, but it's just the writing style. It was really hard to get into, and I pushed myself after a few chapters to, you know, get into it and I will love it, and I did end up loving it. But those first few chapters, I was almost scared that I was going to hate the book. And once I started the first book, I was going to read the entire series. Now, next up is Vampire Academy. This book series I found to be one of my unexpected favorites, not because of the writing style or because of the genre or the plot, but more so because the covers. Not this cover, because this is the pretty 10th anniversary edition cover. No, I mean these covers. These covers are not okay. the cover alone was enough to make me not want to read the series. But I'd heard so many great things about it, I just decided, you know what? I'm gonna pick these books up. Like, it's about time I've read a really big and popular series. It's like, I need to do it. So I buckled down, started the book, and I was hooked from there. Bloodlines couldn't really go on this list because I had read Vampire Academy, loved it, so I obviously thought I was going to love the Bloodline series. I ended up loving the Bloodline series a lot more than Vampire Academy, but still, it wasn't an unexpected favorite. Okay, so next up on this list is the Maze Runner Trilogy by James Dashner. And I'll be the first to admit that I didn't really care for the prequels to the series because they're kind of slow and dull. But the Maze Runner, The Scorched Trial, and The Death Cure, I loved all three of those books. I know a lot of people, I think, went into them with high expectations and they just really did not like the books. I know a few people that flat out hated the books. I was kind of reluctant to read these books at first because I had heard so much negativity about them on BookTube. I was like, oh my god, I want to read the books because I love the concept of them, but it's like there are so many bad things being said about them, and it's like I don't want to waste my time on a book if I'm almost, 100% sure I'm not going to like it. I was on vacation in Tennessee with my sister and mom, and my sister really wanted to watch The Maze Runner and The Scorched Trials. So while we're in Tennessee, we bought both movies, and we didn't get to watch them because sadly I only, no, we did watch The Maze Runner because I was able to finish The Maze Runner while I was there. But I quickly became obsessed with these books because they are actually really, really good. I mean, I had very, very low expectations for them because of all the negativity about them, but I went into them and just took them for what they were and enjoyed them. Okay, and the last book on this list is Divergent by Veronica Roth. Now, this is one of those books that had too much hype, and that's why I didn't want to pick it up. I mean, there have been so many people that were just part of this fandom, and they were just blowing up Twitter and BookTube and all over the place, and it's just one of those books that I decided to pick up, and I think I read like the first line or two of it when I first bought it, and I was like, that sounds very, very boring. So I didn't have any expectation to like this book, but I decided to start this book during jury duty because I was really bored and I needed to read because I was slacking. So I decided to pick this book up like on one of the breaks, which I'm surprised I didn't get in trouble for that. I'm really, really surprised because they were strict. I think I got like the first chapter or two read while I was there, and then when I got home I just continued reading because after the first couple chapters I started really getting hooked into it, and I ended up really, really loving this book and becoming a big fan of this book. I can't say I'm a real big fan of the second and third book of the series. I mean, the second book is okay, just not as good as the first book. The third book I just wish didn't exist because that third book was like nothing but a gigantic info dump. I would prefer all of that information be spread out between all three books, not shoved into the last book of the trilogy. Not okay. Oh, there is one more book on this list. The Illuminated Trilogy. This is one of those other ones that the genre, sci-fi, didn't really expect to love it at all. And it also had a weird writing style. Everything was told in communications and security feeds and stuff like that, and I just really didn't expect to go into these books loving them at all. But I did. Such a good series. Well, those are all the books that I've read since I started BookTube that I wasn't expecting to become my favorites. I feel like 7 books isn't a lot over a 3-year period, but maybe? Are you guys surprised by books very often? If so, what book was the biggest surprise? But with that is the end of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!